Hello, dear friends. There are many theories and stories about humankind's past, but no one has the absolute truth, only partial visions. Opinion piece. Unknown past. The antediluvian world. The origins of humankind. There is no missing link. This could be the year of change. The need for a new reliable model. Why do we know almost nothing about the past? The most effective lie is the half-truth. Let's start. The most important secret of this world concern our origins, which have been hidden from us for centuries, according to Peter B. Mayer. Neither the theory of evolution nor the theory of creation explain the true origin of humankind. Darwin's theory of the survival of the fittest doesn't explain how humans overcame the thousands of flaws in the structure of the human genetic code, while the creation theory ignores the impressive number of ancient fossils and artifacts found all over the world. Thus, the need for a new, reliable model of our origin is clear. It is only recently that confusion has arisen around these theories about the origin of modern humans, with the discovery of fossils indicating that Neanderthals lived alongside Cro-Magnon in what is now Israel. Interestingly, these races did not interbreed because they could not, as James Cribb reveals in his book, The Neanderthal Enigma. They were incompatible to reproduce because they were two different species. This conclusion may also offer the solution to the question of the missing link between early and modern humankind. It is to say that there is no such link. It is therefore clear that there have been two very different types of species, and that a new model for the origin of humankind needs to be established. More and more archaeologists, theologians, and historians are questioning the ready-made answers that conventional science has always offered. However, these scientists do not give up easily. They defend their ideas tooth and nail, despite the growing body of evidence to the contrary. Many of the mysteries of our planet are related to artifacts thousands of years old, such as, among others, the clay tablets found and translated, describing, among other things, the apparent positions of the planets Venus and Saturn, with their 7 satellites which could be observed in ancient Babylon without telescopes. Ignorance. Why don't we know more about our past and the many artifacts that have been found? Presumably, over the centuries, much of the literature and artifacts were deliberately destroyed to keep the people stupid and numb. Nothing was left after the destruction of the Egyptian library in the Temple of Ptah at Memphis. Similarly, 200,000 valuable works disappeared when the library of Pergamon in Asia Minor was destroyed. When the Romans razed the city of Carthage, they destroyed 500,000 books. Then came Julius Caesar with his war against Egypt, which resulted in the loss of the Library of Alexandria, considered the greatest collection of books in antiquity. Because of these tragedies, we now rely on individual fragments, random passages, and paltry records. Our distant past has fallen into a void that has been wrongfully filled with tablets, scrolls, statues, paintings, and various artifacts. The history of this science would be very different if the Alexandrian book collection still existed today. However, thousands of ancient writings have been stored in the Vatican Library. According to Peter B. Mayer, humankind originated on other planets in the universe. Studies point in this direction. Thus, the origin of life on Earth goes much farther back in the time that is known, and even more unknown are the episodes about the history of humankind. The first act of adventure began beyond the confines of this planet and travels through stellar realms and galactic federations. Then the Galactics visited the then existing civilization of Atlantis and Lemuria, and the recently discovered ones. Antediluvian world. In 1882, during a period of relative ignorance and disbelief regarding extraterrestrial matters, the scholar Ignatius Donnelly wrote in his book of Atlantis, in quotes, the antediluvian world, that the gods and goddesses of ancient mythologies were in reality kings and queens of Atlantis. It was a high-tech pre-flood civilization and the founder of successive civilizations and humankind. British chemist Frederick Soddy discovered that isotopes can be used for dating in geology, writing in 1909, in quotes, I believe that there have been civilizations in the past which knew atomic energy, while they were totally destroyed by its misuse. In the 1970, the Swiss writer Erich von Däniken wrote very popular books about ancient aliens or ancient astronauts from other worlds. He has been criticized a lot, but no one takes away the credit for being a pioneer. Alien oppressors. Alien oppressors used humankind as slaves and kept them dumb. This seems to be true to this day. To maintain power over the humankind and confiscate their possessions, these superior civilizations became our jailers. Governments provoke incessant conflict between peoples, causing constant physical hardship. This situation has existed for thousands of years and continues to exist today. It is precisely the age-old power of the initiated elite that has attempted to infiltrate and suppress the great movements of history in order to prevent the full unfolding of humankind's potential. It seems that these suppressive tactics are still ingrained in the highest echelons of the existing secret societies. Origin of the human being. The goal was to develop a barely intelligent worker who could handle tools, be easily controlled and follow orders. Initially, in the first terrestrial humans created, the creators left genetics disconnected above the second strand of DNA. Although the general purpose of human creation was to make servants and workers for the gods, ancient clay tablets say that Enki had a loving emotional bond with his human creation. He described them as his blood children and cared for them as such. After humans were created on Earth, many events took place in which Enki cared for them and protected them from the indifference of his family. He made sure to give humans the divine spark so that they could realize that they were their own god. The veil that imprisons our souls on this planet will be lifted through the process of reincarnation to free humankind from bondage and to evolve as the Creator originally intended. Humankind has now reached this moment. When the awakened ones pass the 5D test, we will experience firsthand how free our world is. Reset News. This could be the year of change by the exposure of the dark side. Light exposes darkness and has nowhere to hide. It is already happening. It is already happening 4 weeks into January. Modena believes that dates or no dates, this awakening is going to take a while. The trickle of truth needs to become a trickle at this time. Calm before the storm. It's a question. The news is pretty quiet, which is what we expected. If it doesn't happen, we continue to ride this roller coaster until it does. Watch for the banks to be shaken and see which ones are left standing and solvent. The best thing we can do when all this happens is to keep quiet and stay off the bad guys' radar. We have our seatbelts tightened so we can ride these hairpin bends and come out the other side complete. The green comet continues to brighten as it approaches Earth for a close encounter on February 1st. Observers report brightness values up to magnitude plus 4.6. This means it is visible to the naked eye from very dark sites and a great target for small telescopes. Spain. A crash in Iberia airline systems caused 5 cancellations and hour-long delays at several airports. British airline flight ceases operations and cancelled all flights on Sunday. A computer system crash leaves Madrid pharmacies unable to dispense medicines all morning. 2/3 of Spaniards think that the reform of the crime of embezzlement could encourage corruption. USA. The system for applying for asylum in the USA is quickly becoming saturated. Some Republicans have doubts about abolishing the income tax. Biden will veto any economic bill passed by the House of Representatives, according to the X22 report. A Fed economist says inequality is worsening as interest rates rise. The Fed prepares to taper rate hikes again. A new poll reveals that a significant number of Democrats doubt Grandpa Joe Biden's mental fitness. Elon Musk has invested in a new artificial intelligence project that can make your voice sound like anyone, but this technology is already developed and in use, and is often used when masks are used to make someone look like someone else. Yes believes there are at least 3 Donald Trumps, one who plays golf all the time, another one who would be the real one, and another one, bad one, who is always saying inconvenient things. The storm is coming. What storm, Mr. President? This is in quotes. You will find out. It's going to be biblical. We've got it all. There will come a time when none of them will be able to walk down the street. Nothing can stop what's coming. The enormity of what's coming will shock the world. Economy. Gold futures make a 6th consecutive weekly gain. Launch of BRICS currency. Russia's foreign minister has confirmed that BRICS currency system will be on the agenda of the BRICS 2023 summit, which will take place in South Africa this August. Russia to price silver in grams of gold. Andrew McGuire looks at the global implication of Russia's plan to launch its own stable gold-linked currency and its potential to undermine the role of fiat currencies in foreign trade transactions. Analysts consider Brazil's proposed Ibero-American currency unrealistic. According to the Financial Times, the possible Ibero-American currency would represent 5% of world GDP. The strongest common currency is the euro, with almost 14% of world GDP. The cruelty of tech layoffs leaves employees emotionally devastated. High earners in their prime are moving away from demanding jobs, and it could be because they are reevaluating their priorities. Debt and stocks implode. Gold and oil explode. The final phase of all empires before collapse always includes excessive deficit and debt, inflation, a collapsing currency, decay, and war. A debt-based economy ultimately becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Shadow banking accounts for 46% of the total and includes pension funds, hedge funds, and other financial institutions that are largely unregulated. The Davos Forum Risk Management report takes aim at energy and food. The Davos Forum wants to get rid of fossil fuels, even though our electricity grids are not ready for this kind of energy transition. Its new buzzword was polycrisis, defined as a situation in which many crises combine with each other. Public-private partnership. When you look at the union of power between big government and big business, and then add in the technological possibilities, we see opportunities to stifle dissent that only the worst dictators of the past could dream of. This fits with the criminalization of free speech, as is happening in Canada. A sizable portion of commoners are harder to pressure than they expected, and are more willing to talk to each other and share stories. The most effective lies are those that are partially true. The additive of crushed insects is included in pizza, pasta, and cereals in the European Union. A tycoon spends millions of dollars to reverse the aging process and biologically turn himself back to 18. Brian Johnson, 45, has a team of more than 30 doctors and health experts monitoring his every bodily function and putting him through dozens of medical procedures every month. Memoirs of David Rockefeller, founder of the United Nations, page 405, in quotes. Some believe that we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the US, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated political and economic world structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I plead guilty and I am proud of it. Close quotes. Rumors of war. The explosion of a military factory in Iran was caused by a drone strike. Ibero-America does not plan to send armaments to Ukraine or any other place in conflict, says Argentine President Alberto Fernández. Argentina commemorated its Holocaust Day with a tribute to the victims. Borrell calls on South Africa to intercede with Russia to stop the war in Ukraine. NATO says it would be ready for a direct confrontation with Russia, but that it must rearm, said the head of the Alliance Military Committee, Admiral Rob Bauer. Ukraine pushes for F-16 fighters after securing tanks. According to Ukrainian politician Viktor Medvedchuk, the war in Ukraine is not in Ukraine's interest, but in the interest of the West, in quotes. The decision to provide Ukraine with tanks would be a suicide pact, writes Sorjafal, in quotes. If a military force attempted to launch large-scale tank attack against an opponent well equipped with anti-tank missiles, the result would be a defeat for the attacking party. Ukrainian tanks destroyed after being recognizable by their rainbow camouflage. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.